What's up, Matt?
Hey, Will, how you doing?
Doing great. Welcome to episode 4 of the podcast today, Will Santos podcast. Today we have a special guest here in the building. We got 98.5, the Sports of Phil and host, the man, the myth, the legend, Matt McCarthy. How's it going, Matt?
What an intro, Will. I love it. It's going well. It's good to be on with you.
Kind of a cringy intro right there, but thanks for being on today. And just get started into the interview right now. First question: what made you want to become a sports radio host? And I actually am aware of how you became into radio, so this kind of spoils how this answer is going to go. But you were in a contest, 98.5 The Sports back in 2013. You ended up winning the contest. So just tell me how before and after those events.
Yeah, so I mean, in some ways, it kind of started when I was around your age. I was in high school. I didn't, really know what I wanted to do. I knew I was passionate about sports. I love sports. I came out of the womb loving sports, and it became apparent around your age that I couldn't play. And so I, said, all right, well, what am I going to do? I'm just going to be a fan from here on out. But there was something about broadcasting that always interested me, and I knew a guy who knew a guy who started brokering time on WATD. And what that means is basically you pay for a time slot on the radio. WATD, for those on the South Shore, they know it's 95.9. It's a local radio station. And this guy that I knew said, hey, I know this guy who's buying time and he wants to do a sports talk show. And nobody loves sports and knows more about sports than you, which, by the way, is a total lie. There are plenty of people who know way more about sports than me, as I have significantly proven in my 12 years at 98.5 The Sports Hub. But he said, listen, I think you'd love this. You should do this. And it was 13 weeks that he bought time. And I went down there and I tried it out and I just fell in love with radio, like, which is such a nerdy, dorky, awesome thing, but it was radio. And there was something about it, and I loved it. And I was a senior in high school at the time, and I said, gosh, do I really want to study political science in college, or do I really want to get a history degree and be a history teacher for 30 years? No, I think I want to do radio. So I just changed everything that I was doing, started applying to communications programs, and I ended up at Ithaca College, with a dream of mine that I wanted to talk sports or broadcast sports or do
Sorry,
something.
Matt. I
And
think I missed like 10 seconds of that. Your my internet's kind of unstable right here.
it's all good. So Sports Hub, which, as you said, I had kind of the craziest way of getting in there. The Sports Hub was doing a public search contest for an on-air host in 2013. At that time, I had gotten my first job in radio. I was a broadcast assistant. Essentially, I was an intern for the Portland Sea Dogs. I thought I wanted to broadcast baseball. It was a passion of mine. I loved calling baseball games. And I was home for the All-Star break, and I heard that the Sports Hub was doing this thing. And I said, well, I mean, it's a Friday night. I got nothing else going on. So I went over to the Charlie Horse in West Bridgewater and I waited in line for 2 hours. Well, a whole bunch of drunk people got up there and read John Wallach's Sports Hub headlines from that morning. I can still tell you on that day, Patrice Bergeron signed a 7-year contract extension through something like 2022 or something like that. And because I heard it a million times from all these people who got up there and read the Sports Hub headlines. So I got up there, I did my thing. I didn't think anything of it, and I went home and I said, "Well, I mean, at least I got a meal at the Charlie Horse, and that was kind of it." 2 weeks later, I got an email saying, "Hey, you're a semifinalist. Why don't you come in for an interview?" Which blew my mind. I couldn't believe it. And I mean, basically, I probably had a bit of a leg up on some folks because I was doing broadcasts every day up in Portland calling Sea Dogs games. So I knew how to read a sports update. And that was, I guess, the first test. And I guess I sounded okay enough to them. And they called me in for an interview. So I drove down from Portland I think it was a Monday, and I waited. I was so nervous. I was like incredibly nervous. I'm 22 years old. I'm like, oh my God, I'm interviewing for a job at the Sports Hub. I go in, I sit down with the program director, Mike Thomas, the guy who eventually hired me, and I think my interview lasted all of about 4.5 minutes. And he said, "All right, well, thanks for coming in. Rucker's going to give you a tour here, and like, thanks." So I got a quick tour of the studio. I'm like, well, I guess I really fucked up my chance. Like, that's it. See you later. I got an email a day later. Hey, you're a finalist. Come on in, and you're going to audition Saturday night at Hurricane O'Reilly's with Hardy, and you know, show us what you got. So I went, and I guess I showed them enough, and they picked me. And the rest, as they say, is kind of history.
I mean, it's definitely a crazy event. I mean, usually what happens when radio hirings happen, like it's usually like not a contest. It's usually like a normal hiring process, but you ended up getting your job via a contest. Crazy as how it's already been 12 years. I mean, 2013 seems like yesterday. But anyways, what is your advice for sportscasters coming into the radio industry, and what lessons have you learned for your 12 years at the Sports Hub?
Yeah, the number one advice is to want it more than everybody else. You have to. There's no other choice. I It's not lost on me how lucky I am to do what I do. It's not lost on me that a million people would want to do what I do. So, you have to be willing to make sacrifices. This is not an easy business. I actually only do it part time because I've got a stable job outside of radio at this point. That's kind of how I figured out, how I'm going to stay in radio because it's a super competitive business with a lot of instability. And, because they know, and the industry knows that everybody would want to do it. So you have to want it more than just about everybody else. So what that means is you need to work hard, obviously. You need to make connections, obviously. My best piece of advice is to not be an asshole because everybody in radio and everybody in broadcasting knows everybody. I've often said that the 6 degrees of separation in radio is kind of more like two. If I don't know you, I probably know somebody who knows you at this point. I've been at this, over a decade now. And if I don't know anybody in the Boston market, in the Boston media market, television, radio, trust me, I know somebody who knows that person. That's just the way it is. It's a small business. So be a good person. That applies, to everything in life. And, one of the other pieces of advice that I got that thankfully I did not have to ultimately follow, but I was willing to follow it, is you have to be willing to go somewhere else, to move, to take a job somewhere that might not be the most desirable spot. It's not lost on me that I was 22 years old and I got hired to talk about sports in my hometown and really, truly, in the end, the only place that I'd want to do it. That's not necessarily the experience that most other people have. I was crazy lucky to get to do that. But, I was up in Portland. I was, working up there. And, I was initially thinking I was going to use that opportunity to go ride the bus in the minor leagues for 20 years to try to make it to the big leagues to eventually call baseball games. You might have to go to Missoula, Montana or Topeka, Kansas to do that. So you have to be willing to do it. But never, ever, ever lose sight that whatever opportunity you get, always ask yourself the question, is this leading towards my ultimate goal? You always need to have the ultimate goal in mind. And if you say that this opportunity will not lead me to that, don't take it just because it's an opportunity. Sometimes opportunities can be rare in this business, and you might, say, oh, I'll take this production job somewhere. Well, are you signing a 3-year contract to be a TV producer when you want to be an on-air radio person? Like that. Those are the types of questions you have to ask. Don't be tempted always by the job or the opportunity. Ask yourself, is this opportunity going to make me better, going to let me grow, and going to help me get to where I want to go? That is a very, very important question that you always need to ask yourself at every step throughout your process in getting into this business.
Absolutely, Matt. I almost called you Mike. I'm sorry.
It's all good.
Absolutely, Matt. Obviously, get your first media opportunity was in Boston. I mean, it's kind of the dream, like growing up in Boston. I think you grew up in Carver, Massachusetts. Like, just getting to work in Boston sports radio, talking about the Red Sox, Bruins. Obviously, Red Sox are your favorite, but just talking about Boston sports in general. Um, Next question. First time I heard of you was or listened to you on the radio was about 4 or 5 years ago, and you might have forgotten this moments
I
or
don't think I've forgotten this. I think I know what you're about to say.
you might have forgotten it, but so basically, this is like early April. Red Sox are starting up, and like I'm listening to this crazy guy, aka Matt McCarthy, on the radio. He's ranting about the Red Sox, telling them they should get out of the city and they should all leave Boston. What was the background behind that rant? Because that was definitely, I think, one of your more notable moments at the Sports Hub.
Yeah, when Felger and Maz played it for about 4 hours the next day, I knew I'd maybe something had landed, and at least some people had been listening. Um, the backstory actually has nothing to do with the Red Sox. It has nothing to do with sports in general. I had just had a really bad day. That's it. I had had a bad day. I was in the process of house hunting at the time, and it was obviously very competitive housing market as it still is, and I had seen a house that I had loved and I really wanted it and I didn't get it. So I get this news that I didn't get this house and I've been, searching for houses for a couple of years and I'm saying, "Oh my God, like I didn't get this place." Like, all right, well, something will come up. Uh I sit down and I watch the Red Sox game and I watch Garrett Richards, that mustache hack bum, get
Yo,
his
I actually
face
forgot
kicked
about
in.
him, bro. Holy shit.
I will never forget about Garrett Richards. Get his face kicked in, as I'm having a bad day and I'm like, I'm on the air in 2 hours and like, I don't know, I'm just steaming. I'm steaming mad. And I just go in and I tell my producer, like, dude, you better have your finger on the dump button because I've had myself a bad day. And yeah, I mean, I took it out on the Red Sox. I kicked them out of town. I called, Cora a cheater and Hein Bloom a hack, and I mean, whatever,
That was
whatever
true.
I said, whatever I said. And yeah, I mean, the Red Sox started that season 0-3, which obviously was the end of the world. And they went on to the American League Championship Series that year after I kicked them out of town. So the only thing I'll say this, Will, the only thing that could have possibly worked out better for me in that scenario is if they actually won the damn World Series. Other than that, it was. Sometimes it's not about being right or wrong. Trust me, I prefer being right. But the most important thing is that you have an opinion and you have a take. And you know what? Sometimes when it's wrong, people get to remind you of how wrong it is. And yes, still 4 years later, people are reminding me that I kicked the Red Sox out of town the first weekend of the season and they went to the American League Championship Series. And I've got no problem with that. You win some, you lose some. I lost that one. And hey, that's the best part about this business. It's fun.
From what I remember, they were facing the worst team of the baseball, Baltimore Orioles. Very surprising season, definitely. I mean, I don't think they were expected to do anything that year, but anyways, my next question is kind of the same thing as what you just said. What is your best and worst take, and how do you deal with the bad takes, and how do you deal with the good takes?
In the end, it's not about whether you're right or wrong. It's just not. And because it's fun, and I never lose sight of that. It's like I go in there and I say stupid stuff all the time. And that's kind of unavoidable in this business. It's not that I intend to go in there and say stupid stuff. You go in there and you give your opinion and it might be right and it might be wrong, and in the end, it doesn't matter. Really, it doesn't matter. There are people down the street at MGH curing cancer and saving lives. I'm just some guy on the radio who talks about whether Alex Cora should have bunted in the sixth inning last night. Like that's in the end, that doesn't that's there are more important things going on in life. People watch sports for entertainment. They listen to us for entertainment. And if you're wrong, people get to remind you of that. But most of them do it in good fun, in good spirit, the way that you would, bust balls with your friends or something like that. That's kind of what sports talk radio is. We're just going in there and we're busting chops and we're having a take about, the teams that we're watching, and it might be wrong and it might be right, but so what if it is? Don't get me wrong. I love going in there and being able to pound the table and say, I was right. I was right about this. I was right about Hein Bloom. I don't think anybody would deny that at this point. I was right
Tyler
that it was
Milliken.
more Tom Brady than it was Bill Belichick. I don't think anybody would deny that. Does it really matter? Does it really matter whether I got it right about whether the Red Sox hired the right general manager or not, or what Bruce Cassidy was doing with his second line 6 years ago? No, it doesn't. What matters is you're going in there and you're giving people something to listen to, something to hopefully keep them entertained as they're driving home from the job that they hate, or they're running out to Home Depot on the weekends, or whatever it is. Like, you're just kind of, your job is to be there and be a companion for some folks in whatever way they take it. They might listen to you because they love hearing you screw up. They love hearing you get a take wrong and they want to remind you of it. They might listen to you because they agree with you. It doesn't matter so long as they listen.
Does Milliken still defend Heim Bloom?
Yes, yes, he does. And trust me, I love reminding him of that every single time I see him. There is nothing I love doing more. I will just text him. I'll text him, be like, "Hey, dude, Heim Bloom screwed this up," and he'll get so mad. And he'll get like such a reaction. But that's the best part, right? Because it's all in good fun. We're just busting balls.
Yeah, absolutely 100%. Nothing personal. Uh, last media question before I'll branch over to some sports questions. Over your 12 years in 98.5 the sports hub, who has been not who is, what has been your favorite sports story, and what has been the story you'd like to talk about the most?
Such a good question. Because there are always so many juicy, great stories. I mean, people say that like guys don't like soap operas or guys don't like reality TV. We do. It's just sports. Like what's going on with Bill Belichick. The Belichick Brady thing was obviously tremendous. The Belichick stuff now going on with his girlfriend who is running his life apparently. Like that's a great story. There's so much juice there. Um, you love conflict. You love, again, it's our job to find the story and find the angle, right? Anything salacious, anything, oh, this person doesn't like this person, or, I mean, the Heim Bloom Cora stuff was great. Like you could tell they didn't see eye to eye. They didn't like each other, and there was so much clash and conflict there. I mean, it's all fascinating, right? The Patriots Palace coup. How much control does Jonathan Kraft have? How much control does Robin Glazier have? Is Gerard Mayo really in charge here? Like all that stuff. Like that's good eating. That's good stuff for us. But my favorite story in the end, it's the team's winning. Like I'm still a fan. So my favorite shift I've ever done was 2018, the night the Red Sox won the World Series. I went on at 11:15 at night and I stayed on till 6 in the morning, just taking calls from Red Sox fans, drunk Red Sox fans all night long, into Toucher and Rich at the time. Like those are the days you live for. Being on after, game 7 with the Bruins last year with the Pasternak game winner. Like those are the shifts you live for. The stories get you through the day to day. But in the end, to me, still, as a fan, it's about those moments where your teams actually do succeed. I know people might not believe that given they listen to the station every day, but really, those are my favorite stories. That Red Sox winning in 2018 is still my all-time favorite moment in radio. Like I don't know if there's something that comes close at this point.
Absolutely 100%. I mean, your number one team's the Red Sox, right?
Always, always. I'm a baseball guy. I have been. I always will be. Yes, I'm one of the few remaining. But yes, that's me.
It's like you, my grandmother, that's it.
Yeah, I know.
And
I let me tell you, I'm huge. I'm huge with grandmothers. Like that demo, I crush it. Like old guys in their chair who love watching the Red Sox, and grandmothers who love watching the Red Sox, and me and Milliken. And that's kind of it.
gotta love Milliken.
He's the
Anyways,
best.
all jokes aside, next besides just working after the Red Sox win the championship in 2018, you also worked the Celtics championship last
Mm.
year, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes, I did. Another great night. I mean, again, the nights you live for. I'll say it was a little harder to do in my 30s compared to doing it in my 20s. I was a little bit more tired after that shift than I was after the Red Sox shift. But yeah, I mean, it was a great night. You watch the game, you go in and you do radio overnight after your team wins. What could be better than that?
100%, Matt. First Red Sox question I have for you today. I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm kind of more like a casual baseball fan. Definitely more of a football fan and a basketball fan. but Roman Anthony and Marcelo Mayer are currently the two top prospects in the league. You've been tweeting about Roman Anthony a lot. I'm pretty sure he's been raking in AAA. Do you think these two prospects will work out in the Red Sox major league system, or do you think they'll be busts?
Anthony's a stud. I fully believe it. Anthony is a stud. Everybody I've talked to who has seen him play consistently in the minor leagues believes in him. I believe in him. He has just, I mean, he has skyrocketed through the system ever since he was drafted in the second round a few years ago. I believe in Anthony. I think he's as close as you can get to being bust proof. I don't think there really is. I don't think that exists in baseball, but he's as close as you can get. Meyer, I've always had some questions about. He had a great spring training, and that opened my eyes a little bit to Marcelo Meyer. But I've always had questions about his ceiling. And part of me wonders if the Red Sox have questions about his ceiling too. I think Meyer is going to be a big leaguer. I don't know if he's going to be a great big leaguer. Um, I don't know if he's going to hit for enough power. Um, I don't know if he can stay healthy. And people thought he was Corey Seager when he was drafted. I haven't really seen anything or talked to anybody in the minor leagues who's felt he's that type of player, but I think he's going to be a good player. Um, maybe big league regular, which is nothing to sneeze at. I just think we should. I still think we should hold those two prospects in a different class. Like Anthony is something special. Myers, good. He might be great, but Anthony could be really, really special. Just based on the few times I've seen him play in person and what people have told me. I mean, there's a lot there. Red Sox fans should be legitimately excited about him, and he is tearing up AAA. He's done with AAA, and they're going to have to make room for him sooner rather than later.
Definitely, 100%. I mean, baseball desperately needs to come back in Boston. It's always
Mhm.
fun when the Red Sox are good. I mean, 2021, that was a very fun season for both Boston and the
Mhm.
team. Obviously, baseball prospects are different from basketball, football prospects. I mean, you got Spencer Torkelson, who was the first pick a couple years ago, ended up being a bust. I don't even know if he's still in the Detroit Tigers. Basketball is a little bit different from that. Anyways. Couple days ago, 98.5 Sports Hub tweeted out, is it fair to question Jason Tatum's mentality at the outset of the 2025 playoffs? Can you just explain that take a little bit?
Yeah, yeah, exactly. Here's another take that I was apparently wrong about. Shocker. No, I mean, I probably looked a little bit too much into what Joe Mazzulla did after game one when Tatum was rolling around on the ground holding his wrist. Mazzulla's yelling, "Get up." And Cedric Maxwell, the team broadcaster, is mockingly referring to Tatum as Willis Reed when he eventually got up. So, it struck me as that maybe some people around the team are questioning his toughness, and I used my sense around that and said, well, maybe it's time for me to question his toughness, based on what happened with the ankle, based on what happened with the wrist here in the playoffs, and based on what the head coach and the team broadcaster are saying. Like, are there questions about Jason Tatum's toughness? Well, turns out he was actually hurt. He missed a game, and you come back from that. So another swing and a miss on that one.
I mean, radio, you got to make, at least in the radio business, you got to make takes every single day. I mean, you've probably made so many takes throughout the course of your 12-year career that, I mean, you forgot about some of them at this point.
A million of them. The most important thing though is never say anything you don't truly believe. I mean, I think people act like what we say, people don't believe. And I'm sure at times people say stuff that they don't believe. I just think people can spot a fraud. I think people can say, well, he's just saying that just to say that. I said that because I believed it, or I was starting to believe it based on what, Missoula was doing and based on what Max was saying. So I said, huh, I wonder if there's something there. Did I say it maybe a little bit more strongly than I believed in the moment? Probably. But it came from a place of belief. And I think people will figure it out if you're saying something that you don't believe in any sense. Sometimes you say things more strongly in this business than maybe you intend to. That's kind of unavoidable, but that's a hell of a lot better, and you can get away with that. I don't think you can get away with saying things that you outright don't believe just to say them. Like, I think people spot that from a mile away.
For sure, man. I mean, obviously, you're very passionate excuse me, about all four Boston sports teams. So I do feel like all your takes are real. I'm not disputing that. I just wanted you to explain that take a little bit. I
No,
was able
totally.
to.
Yeah, no, there's no defending it at this point. I mean, obviously, they were right, I was wrong. There's no defending it. But no, that's my more my philosophy than anything.
A bit of a quick question right here about the Celtics. They're obviously beating the Magic in the first round. I mean, we all expect that to happen. Even the Knicks, the Celtics are probably going to beat the Knicks. I mean, they did sweep the Knicks in the season series, conference finals versus the Cavs, which will probably happen. Who do you think comes out?
Celtics. Celtics. I think the Celtics are winning the championship again if they're healthy. I don't buy in on the Cavs. I haven't seen it from the Cavs. Like doing finishing first in the NBA regular season, getting the top seed in the NBA regular season. I can find a million examples of teams that were not the number one over, like we're not the best team in their conference, despite finishing first overall. I just
Celtics
think
in
the Celtics.
2017.
Right, exactly. 2017. I go back to the Hawks years ago. That I think
Oh
there was a
yeah,
Hawks
that
team that,
team
yeah. Are the Cavs that, or are they the Celtics, like the
probably
2025
more of
Celtics?
the former.
I think the Celtics are probably more of the former. I would agree. So I think the Cavs are certainly more of the former. So, I mean, maybe I'm foolish. I don't believe in the Cavs. I don't. This is still pretty close to the team that the Celtics boat raced in 5 games last year without Kristaps Porzingis. I know Donovan Mitchell didn't play for part of that series. Part of me wonders, again, I'll question his toughness too. Did he recognize that that series was probably a losing battle and tapped out? Maybe. I think that exists in the NBA. So I think the Celtics are in prime position to win the Eastern Conference and most likely repeat as champions.
You do have the Oklahoma City Thunder. If they come out the West, are they a threat? I mean, obviously Shea Gilgeous-Alexander is an MVP candidate.
No doubt they're a threat, and their style of play is tough on the Celtics. But the experience thing comes in here. Were the Celtics probably a better team than the Warriors in 2022? Yeah. Did the Warriors have the experience being a team that had won championships before? You bet. And that made a difference in that series. Celtics should have won that series. They were up 2-1, up 10 points at home in game four.
That will always
Uh,
haunt me.
and they collapsed because they didn't know how to win. And I think in the NBA, there's a long and documented history of teams having to fail before they win. Oklahoma City really hasn't had many opportunities to fail at this point. The Celtics failed for years before they eventually broke through last year. Yes, the path was easy. I think that if the path were harder, they still probably would have won because they were ready to win. I'm not convinced Oklahoma City is ready to win. I love that team. There's a world of talent on that team. Love watching them play. If we get down to it, crunch time, game five, NBA finals, in the brink, in the balance essentially. Who do you trust more? Jason Tatum and
Boston,
Jalen Brown or the Oklahoma City Thunder? I trust the Celtics in that moment. The experience thing matters in the NBA.
100%. I mean, we saw it last year. Luka Doncic lost the NBA Finals in his first NBA championship appearance. I mean, Tatum has already been to what,
Mhm.
five different conference finals at least, and he
Yep.
obviously lost the finals in 2022. So yeah, experience is definitely a huge part in the NBA. Uh, Bit of a different sport right here. Red Sox. Uh, Tanner Houck. What's happening?
He
What is going
sucks.
on with him?
He
He
sucks.
sucks
That's
and
what's happening.
blows.
He sucks and blows. No, listen. Tanner Houck's not an all-star pitcher, and what you saw last year was a mirage. What you've seen from Tanner Houck throughout his career is he's inconsistent. He was inconsistent in the minor leagues. He had significant ups and downs in the minor leagues. I give him credit. He persevered through that. He ended up being a big league pitcher. This is a guy we were talking about a year and a half ago. We didn't know if he was a starter or a reliever. Then he went out and had a great season last year. I just don't think he's reliable. I think, the best baseball players in a sport where you fail 7 out of 10 times, right? The best players fail 7 out of 10 times. I think the best players are consistent. It is extremely hard. Baseball is the hardest sport on planet Earth to be consistent at. And Tanner Houck, like a lot of other pitchers in Major League Baseball, have a lot of skill and a lot of ability, and you can put it together for a short period of time. The guys who can put it together for a long period of time, those are the special ones. Those are the really good ones. What you're seeing from Tanner Houck is no different than what you'll see from pitchers in the past and from now until the end of time. This is who he is. He has stuff, he has ability, he can't put it all together. He's going to be up and down throughout his entire career. He is not reliable. You should not count on him. He's probably going to have a bad year. Like I don't mean to project, I don't mean to predict. I've seen it happen a million times. Good year, bad year, good year, bad year, good year, bad year. He's probably going to have a bad year. That's Tanner Houck. It is who he is. The Red Sox need somebody else to step up. And they're Brian Bayo had a bad year last year. Is he going to have a good year this year to make up for Tanner Houck? I hope so. Giolito goes tonight. Like they're going to have to find somebody else besides Tanner Houck to be the number two pitcher, the number three pitcher in this rotation. I don't think it's going to be him.
Yo, what's that? Yo, the smoke detector is going off because that take was fucking hot as shit, bro. Definitely controversial take. I mean, I'm not the biggest Red Sox fan, so maybe there's something up about Houck's mechanics. Maybe is his fastball going down or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, he's in the zone. He's just getting hit. He's just getting hit hard in the zone. And I mean, he was in the zone last year. And when I say in the zone, I mean the strike zone. He effectively pitched in the strike zone last year and generated swing and miss outside of the strike zone. He hasn't been able to do that this year. I mean, anytime he's in the strike zone, he's getting hammered. So, he just hasn't been the same pitcher really since the All-Star game last year. Part of it is smoke and mirrors. The Red Sox, generated a lot of attention last year by, not throwing fastballs, by throwing breaking ball, breaking ball, breaking ball. Houck was probably one of the biggest beneficiaries of that approach. And in about July of last year, Major League Baseball figured it out. They made adjustments, and he hasn't been able to adjust back because every time he's in the strike zone now, he's getting hit. So that's just ultimately, I think, who he is. He's going to be an up and down pitcher throughout his entire career. It's who he's proven himself to be.
Personally, baseball needs to bring back steroids and the spider tack, but that's just my
Yes,
opinion.
exactly. I'm all
Very.
for it.
Anyways, I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm a Giants fan, not a Patriots fan. I do watch the Patriots a lot, especially when the Giants aren't on. But over under for this year, 7 wins for the New England Patriots. And how do you think they will perform?
It's a perfect number. Vegas always has the perfect number. I would say they're a 7.5 win team. So I I think they'll probably be just under. I think they're a 7 win team. Um, I'm not quite sure if Drake May's ready to win yet. And the team's better. They've got a better coach, a better defense. They've addressed the offensive line in the draft. At least you hope, that Will Campbell can play left tackle. If he can, that changes things for them a bit. I just think Drake May turns the ball over too much to consistently win football games. So I think if the line's 7.5, I lean just slightly under that because I think May is going to cost them a game here or there with turning the ball over. They won 4 games last year. May played one of them. So, like we should at least look at that just a little bit. I mean, the team was awful. There was nothing he could do. There was nothing around him. That being said, he lost that game in Buffalo because he kept turning the ball over. He and Ramondre Stevenson. The two of the games they won, Jacoby Brissett. One of the games they won was Joe Milton. Granted, the Bills didn't want to win that game, but like at some point, I do say, you won 4 games and your starting quarterback was only responsible for 25% of them, only played in 25% of them. So I don't know. Like I'm not quite sure if he's totally ready to take that jump. I like Drake May. He's got all the talent in the world, but I lean just so slightly under that. So I'll take the under on 7.5 wins.
A lot of people don't consider Wentz to be a quarterback set, but I do think they're a quarterback set because you got to realize May only won 1 game last year, and the games that they came close in, like the Tennessee game, they
Mhm.
could have easily won. They only put up 20 points, and that was probably one of May's better games. Like he showed a
Mhm.
lot of promise in that game for sure. I do feel like they're gonna win over 7 games, and that's only because Vrabel is a really good coach. I mean, he turned around Tennessee. I do think he'll make New England a respectable organization again.
Yeah, and listen, if it's 7 wins, that's still respectable given where they came from. They're going to be much more competitive than they were this past year and have been for the last few years under Mike Vrabel. I totally believe in that.
For sure. I mean, especially with how many upgrades they have added to the receiving corps and as well as the defense.
Mhm.
Um, next Patriots questions about Stephon Diggs. How will he perform in the Josh McDaniels offense, and how do you think May will play with him?
Yeah, Diggs is the prototypical, like exactly the type of receiver I'd want for a young quarterback. He's a good route runner. He's competitive. I'm just not convinced he's healthy, which is my biggest question with Diggs. I like the signing. Um, it's worth a shot, but coming off a knee injury from, not, that happened during this past season, I know they say he's going to be ready for week one. I'm not convinced. But if he is healthy, I mean, we saw the impact he had on Josh Allen. So I'm just not convinced that, he's the same player. If he's 80% of the player he was, that's still better than anything the Patriots have had for the last few years. So he makes them a better team. I would just pump the brakes on saying how much better he actually makes them. But no doubt he's improved them and will be, I have to imagine, a benefit for Drake May.
Not to mention, I mean, he also made Case Keenum look respectable, so that's definitely another plus.
Yeah,
May's
it's
a
a
lot more
miracle.
talent. May's a lot better than Keenum, especially in the passing department. Another Patriots question: how will the defense perform this year, and do we expect a DPOY season out of Christian Gonzalez?
Um, Yeah, I mean, I suppose I'm not ready to say Gonzalez is that good, like to be defensive player of the year. I really like him though, so like let's not, I don't know if he's going to be the best corner in the NFL, but he's going to be a very, very, very good corner in the NFL, and that's worthy enough as it is. Patriots defense is going to be significantly better. Like we focused on the offense so much for the last few years, the defense hasn't been good enough, and they certainly were not good enough last year. I think there were moments where that defense quit. That's not going to happen under Mike Vrabel. They've improved significantly. They are way deeper on the defensive side of the ball than they were last year. They should be significantly, significantly better. I'm excited about this Patriots defense. They should keep them in games. And the question is, will the Patriots offense put them in a bad spot by turning the ball over? I think turnovers are the story this year. Like if Drake May can keep the turnovers in check, they're going to win some games. They might win, more than a handful of games because I think this defense is good enough, no doubt about it.
Got a few more questions lined up right here. Last football question for now.
Mhm.
I mean, it's not really about the Patriots, but he's the 20-year-old coach. Uh, Belichick, is he compromised by whatever her name is?
Yes, yes, the answer is yes. I don't know what's going on there, but it's not good. Like I'd be legitimately concerned if I were a member of the Belichick family. I'm sure they are. How could you not be by what's going on? It's one thing to have somebody in your life. I'm not gonna begrudge Bill or her for that relationship. Who am I to judge on the age difference or whatever it is? I'm going to judge based on the content though. And the content coming out of that thing, I mean the approach to the CBS Sunday morning interview, like you got to be kidding me. I mean, I work in public relations, all right? The last thing I would ever do is do what she did. That is the number one way to get yourself bad press, a bad story, and bad attention. She has no idea what the hell's going on. Like, I'll comment on that. I won't comment on their relationship and whether or not they love each other. Who am I to say? I'll just say, Bill, you're letting Jordan run things for you based on the way she handled that situation. This is a professional take as somebody who does something kind of similar to what Jordan does. Holy shit. That is like 101. You don't do that. Whatever she did. I mean, we're not going to talk about it. Why? Why aren't you going to talk about it? All this is going to do is bring up more questions. Belichick's first answer to, hey, what do you think people, talking about your his answer was perfect. Well, I'm not really concerned with what people think. There you go. Move on. How did you meet? I don't know. Does it really matter, or something like that? I mean, they could have dodged that a way better way than they actually did. All it did was open up Pandora's box. I am stunned. I'm stunned by what that, and let me tell you, it's not going to end well. Whatever this situation is, it's not going to end well. And UNC should be concerned by her presence. Bill should be concerned by her presence. I'm not sure if he is. And the family, no doubt, should be concerned by her presence.
Absolutely 100%. Definitely one of the more bizarre Boston sports stories over the past 20 years. Never thought Bill Belichick would come to this sort of low, but it is kind of weird seeing the Patriots come to this level as a Giants fan, even though we're probably worse than them right now.
Yeah, two franchises who have had better days for sure.
Yeah. 10 Super Bowls combined, and this is where we're at. Pretty unfortunate. But next question is kind of about your sports personality wise is your nickname or what people call you is McTakey. Where did that come from and why is that your nickname?
So I think it came from Mark Bertrand. I gave a take about Kyrie Irving being an ultimate pain in the ass or something like it, and this was
That ended up being true.
it ended up being true. So again, sometimes you're right, sometimes you're wrong. And Beetle kind of whatever the take was, it was probably a little early on, and it had something to do with the Celtics. And I was ripping Kyrie and I was ripping the Celtics, and I went off on a tangent. And Beetle said, "Okay, McTakey, all right, like all right, rein it in, pal." And Felger heard it, and for whatever reason, it stuck with him. So he just started calling me McTakey. And I'll tell you what, if Beetle and Felger start calling you something, it's gonna stick. So that's how McTakey came to be.
At least in my opinion, you're definitely one of the more entertaining personalities on the sports side. You definitely have a lot of great takes, a lot of bad takes as well. I mean, you mentioned a couple ones there, the Jason Tatum one earlier, but obviously we're both sports fans. We're gonna have bad takes from every now and then. I mean, I thought Josh Rosen was gonna be an elite quarterback in the NFL. Obviously, that ended up being true. Enough about me, anyways. I got some more questions lined up before I'll let you go. Um, Who's your favorite personality on the sports sub besides yourself, and why do you think that way?
I think Jim Murray is like the most talented person I've ever been around in radio.
Love Jim Murray.
His ability to do voices, production, host a show, be a number, three on a show, be a number two on a show. His versatility is just incredible. I'm in awe of it. Um, you know, I work with so many incredibly talented people. It's beyond comprehension how good the talent is at the Sports Hub. And I've talked about this with people at the station. I've been really fortunate to kind of grow in my career in that environment. If you spend 12 years working with people who are the best at what they do, theoretically you should grow yourself. And I'd like to think that I have. I'll leave that to you and everybody else to determine whether I'm any better or worse than I was as a 22-year-old kid coming out of college, getting my first crack at this thing. But the people at the station are remarkably, remarkably talented, and our producers are top notch. Like that's the real story of the Sports Hub. The talent is it's in your face. It's undeniable. Our producers have some of the best senses for content I have ever been around. They are true storytellers. Uh, you name it. James Scarum is there, and the crazy talented producers that we have at our station who just know what they're doing. And it's, hopefully I've learned from them too. I mean, you spend some time around the station and you're just in awe that you get to work with on a daily basis. I'm very, very lucky.
I'm sorry, your connection kind of made my connection it kind of glitched out right there. Can you just repeat what you said for like 5 seconds?
Oh yeah, I said I'm incredibly lucky and in
Oh,
awe of the people that I get to work with on a daily basis.
oh, for sure. I'm sorry. This connection's kind of pretty bad. It's pretty bad today. But anyways, the last question before I'll let you go for the day. This is very, very different. I'm sure this is gonna be pretty fucking embarrassing for you to answer. But 2 days from now, or right after I'm done with this live stream or Zoom meeting, I have to go to the tuxedo shop. Got to get a tuxedo for prom. Uh, how was your prom? And like, do you look back on it fondly?
You know what? I didn't go to my prom. I had no interest in going to my prom, believe it or not. And it's like the
Wow.
craziest thing. I'm like, I'm good. I just like hung out with my friends. Like we just didn't go like as groups. I didn't go to my prom. I went to my college formal at the end of college because I was like, well, I didn't really go to high school prom. And my friends and I spent about 5 minutes there and like, let's just get out of here. This isn't our scene. So honestly, I've got no advice. I'm the worst person to ask about prom season other than have fun, be safe, don't be a jackass, and yeah, and don't make the night out to be more than what it is. It's a big night, it's a fun night, and all that, but like in the end, we have a million moments in our life and it's what you make of it. So, don't feel like it has to go a certain way. Don't feel like you have to, end up with a certain person or whatever that is. It's just the way it is. Enjoy it, have fun, be loose, be relaxed, have a good time, and don't make too big a deal out of it.
That's crazy. McTakey, not a
Not a
prom tender
prom guy.
guy.
You shouldn't you do not want to see me on the dance floor. I'll tell you that. I'm like tall, lanky, awkward, uncoordinated. Like it's not my scene. Not for me.
Probably the hardest take you've had today. Even
I'm
harder than.
I know I'm an odd guy. Trust me, I know.
Anyways, that's all the questions I have lined up for you today. Oh wait, hold on. One last thing. Tomorrow we're gonna have Tim McCone on. That was the guy that was your runner-up for the contest, right?
Yes, so McCone will tell the story better than I would, but McCone got crazy drunk. He was the second person to go. You couldn't hear the audio in Hurricane O'Reilly's, so I guess apparently, he went on the air, he did his half hour, and he got text from his friend saying, "Hey, this went great. It was all good. You've got a great shot." And apparently I went on, they texted him like, "Dude, no, you're not going to get it. Like it's over. See you later." So apparently he got drunk and then they came up to him and said, "Hey, listen, if you win, you have to go back on the air." So he was like, "Oh shit. I'm already going to lose my job. Like if I get this thing cuz I'm banged up." So yeah, I won the contest. McCone's friends, because he had a whole group of people there, booed the shit out of me. And then I got back to my car and found out the air had been let out of my tires. So I'm convinced to this day that Tim McCone let the air out of my tires. So ask him about that. Ask him if he's ready to apologize and acknowledge that he, in a drunken stupor, slashed my tires.
I'll ask him if those allegations are true, and we'll definitely see what will happen tomorrow. But anyways, thank you, Matt, for coming on today. This is definitely probably the most entertaining slash most fun interview we've done so far on the podcast. So yeah, we'd love to have you back.
Well, let's set the bar real low for McCone tomorrow because he's going to surpass that. But Will, it was a pleasure. Just keep doing your thing. Keep doing these podcasts. Let me tell you, you're way ahead of where I was at your age. Get these reps, get these opportunities. It's only going to make you better. Never give up. Pursue, pursue, pursue. If this is the business you want to be in, just, don't hesitate. Work harder than everybody else, and you're already off to a great start. So keep it up, my friend.
Thank you for those kind words, Matt. Definitely appreciate it. Definitely an inspiration for sure. Like how your rants are structured. But yeah, thank you for coming on, and yeah, you're welcome to come back at any time.
Anytime. You let me know what you need. Always happy to help. All right.
Thank you, Matt. Have a great day.
All right. Take care, Will.
See ya.
Bye bye.